I'm Shara Jackson and welcome to Labor Lens. Thank you for joining us on today's edition of the program. We will be focusing on NLC at 40, but first, let's begin with the news. The Industrial Global Union Federation National Council celebrates the 2018 International Women's Day with the theme Press for Progress. The day started with a walk from the headquarters of the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers at Jibowu to Yaba, Lagos. Labor leaders at the event took time to create greater awareness about the essence of the International Women's Day celebration via one-on-one interaction with other non-union members they encountered during the walk. Their message was, it's time to press forward and make progress in the area of gender parity.
We are drawing attention to the plight of women. As we speak, there's a lot of discrimination. We also want to use this occasion to demand for equal pay for women for the jobs that they do. Apart from that, a state of emergency has to be declared within the educational sector, especially in the northeast of the country. We are using this occasion to call for the rescue of the Dapchi girls, the Chibok girls. Government must be more responsible and responsive and also demonstrate enough political will.
Women issues are trade union issues. They are human issues. An injury to any woman is an injury to all of us. And don't forget, last year we were marching for release of remaining Chibok girls. But sadly, this year again, 111 Dapchi girls have been taken away. So we are using today to call on all our leaders, governors, president to be on duty and protect all our schools.
Just after the walk, a lecture was delivered that evaluated the protection of women's rights at the workplace.
That's the day we try to create awareness to people, to government, to the masses about the need for women to be involved in the mainstream of every activities, be it politics, be it decision taking, be it in the union movement, even to also campaign against some of this violence.
A unanimous decision by the Global Union is that the International Women's Day belongs to all groups and that it is an opportunity to collectively think, act, and be gender sensitive. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) is an umbrella body for trade unions in Nigeria. It was founded in 1978 following a merger of four different organizations: Nigerian Trade Union Congress, Labour Unity Front, United Labour Congress, and Nigeria Workers' Council. The numerous affiliated unions were restructured into 42 industrial unions. During its history, conflicts with the military regime twice led to the dissolution of the NLC's national organs. The first in 1988 under the military regime of General Ibrahim Babangida, and the second in 1994 under the regime of General Sani Abacha. Under Nigeria's military government, labor leaders were frequently arrested and union meetings disrupted. Comrade Hassan Simonu, who was the first president of the Nigerian Labour Congress between February 1978 to February 1984, and under his leadership, the union was able to achieve the first minimum wage in May 1981.
The labor movement has done a lot, not only for the workers of Nigeria, but also for the people of Nigeria and for the Nigerian nation. Because if you remember, in the last 40 years of its existence, we have had military dictatorships, we've had civilian administration, another military intervention before we started having, uninterrupted civilian administration, democratic dispensation from 1999. So, and if you see the ups and downs for the country itself during these 40 years, but for the Nigerian Labour Congress, the fate of Nigeria would have been worse.
NLC went through rough times. In 1988, its national structures were dissolved by the Babangida military regime because of its opposition to the Structural Adjustment Program and fuel price hikes. Later, an administrator was appointed to govern NLC. In 1994, the military regime of General Sani Abacha again dissolved NLC's National Executive Council and appointed its sole administrator because of the union's insistence for the restoration of democracy.
Because of the commitment of the state councils, they brought the raw data. They participate in the decision making. They go and implement whatever it is at their state level effectively. That helped in the growth and the strength and the development of Congress.
Following democratic reforms in the country, some of the anti-union regulations were abolished in January 1999. The same month, Adams Oshiomhole was elected president of the reformed organization. Today, the NLC has more than 40 affiliated unions, and according to their own figures, they cater for up to 4 million members. This makes the NLC one of the largest trade union organizations in Africa. The NLC has led several general strikes protesting the government's fuel price policy. In September 2004, the NLC gave the federal government an ultimatum to reverse the decision to reintroduce the controversial fuel tax or face a nationwide protest strike. Nigeria has had many colorful labor leaders, starting from Chief Michael Imodu, the nation's first union labor leader. Under his leadership, the union demanded for higher pay, the casualization of workers, and for the improved conditions for technical workers. NLC's first very dynamic president in 1978 was Alhaji Hassan Sumonu, who was succeeded by Ali Chiroma in 1984. The late Pascal Bafayu was NLC president from 1988 to 1994. One of the most exciting and memorable NLC leaders, Adams Oshiomhole, who came from the textile sector in 1999 when democracy was restored after military rule. He later became governor of Edo State. Oshiomhole led strikes and protests against fuel price hike. He also negotiated 25% wage increase to public sector workers during Obasanjo's administration. After Oshiomhole came Abdul Wahid Omar of the Teachers Union, who was elected NLC president in 2007. Then came the current president Ayuba Waba, who came from the Health Workers Union and was elected in 2015.
Struggles in the interest of workers, some of them are systemic and we can anticipate them. There are others that do emerge periodically, even without expectation. Even those that you are tackling, there are dynamics associated. They can become even more complicated and all that. Clearly, as of today, among the challenges that we face are the issues of the huge unemployment, which renders the labor market very problematic.
The last few years has, however, been very tough for NLC, where rulers once trembled at the mention of its name, and especially when it threatened to go on strike. These days, NLC is not as potent as it used to be. Many reasons account for this turn of events, including the collapse of some powerful economic sectors, factionalism among labor leaders, and also the weak national economy.
As we move ahead, we need to pursue the issue of unity in the movement. The issue of unity, for me, is not negotiable. It's clearly not negotiable. The fact that we have had problem of disunity has weakened our ability to pursue quite a lot of things. And I think now we have to sacrifice. We have to forget about self-ambition. We must genuinely work on reconciliation so that our colleagues who appear aggrieved, who have left for one reason or the other, should come back so that we have a united front.
The NLC at 40 celebration was celebrated for 3 days, and on this occasion, thousands of workers were in attendance. Many were given awards, and some were called to the NLC Hall of Fame. for the NLC to continue in the struggle to defend workers' interests. It was concluded at the 40th anniversary celebration that workers needed a political platform through which they can collaborate with credible civil society groups, actively participate in policy making, and drive implementation process. Attaining the next level of national development also means government must become responsible and responsive in meeting the plight of the working class, ensuring that the dignity of labor is realized and the potentials of industry is maximized.
NLC so far has been very slow and steady on track in the course of the struggle for the working class people in Nigeria, and it has been a very perfect one. And I generally want to believe too well that in the last 40 years, it has been a progressive movement, steadily, though slow. But in it all, we have every cause to say things are working out gradually. And if the tempo is sustained and maintained the way it is with the current leadership under Comrade Ayuba Wamba, MNI, I do believe too well that we'll be able to sustain a better things for the working class people in Nigeria.
Nigerian Labour Congress has fared relatively well in the past 40 years. You know, if you take into account its origins, you know, we're talking about the third NLC in the historical sense. In fact, in that context, for instance, this is the longest NLC. The third NLC is actually the longest NLC. Whereas it's the same NLC, but this is about the longest NLC. And it has fared well in spite of all the challenges. We have had our ups and downs, but on the scorecard, I think NLC has done well. Tackling its own core issues and tackling social issues. In fact, let me put it this way, socio-economic issues.